This followed the launch of over $1 million United States project by the government of Liberia and the United Arab Emirates in Monrovia. The project titled SAVE is being funded by the United Arab Emirates government and will be carried out through a joint partnership with Mexico and the Health Ministry. According to Mexico Country Director Kwesi Giabo, the one-year project targeting 15,000 beneficiaries across Liberia. Mr. Giabo said it is also intended to strengthen healthcare delivery at the community level. He spoke that Sunday at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital at the launch of the project. Several government officials Friday attended the arrival ceremony of President George Manuel at the Rabat International Airport. The Liberian leader touched down at the RRA during the early morning hours and received a usual overwhelming welcome from his cabinet ministers. The Liberian leader returned to his motherland after witnessing the independence and inaugural ceremonies of his Senegalese counterpart, Macky Sall. That's highlights of the president's arrival from Senegal. Well, upon arrival, Information Minister Len Eugene Nangbe briefed the media on the president's trip.
In a matter of days, the Minister of State will announce the exact date because there are still some logistical preparations that are going on, and right after they conclude that, along with the security people, they will announce the schedule because they had been postponed in the past. You know, so whether it's rainy season or dry season, we have to keep on working. You know, the economy has suffered some shocks. We are very, very, very focused on addressing the fundamentals that have affected our economic performance. Always hard, which is because the real economy has not grown. We are not manufacturing, we are not exporting, we are importing more than we export. Our balance of trade deficit is wide. So these are the structural macroeconomic issues that the president and his cabinet, the economy for the people of Liberia. Finally, the president's prime focus right now.
Finally, Minister, as a result of the president's visit to the UAE, we understand that some delegations will be coming next week as part of the visit to the UAE. What can you say about 23 men? What does it mean for Liberia?
Well, the president, you see, some of these visits, you know, I just want to say something today because a lot of people keep saying the president went on a joyride. The president is somebody who does not like flying. So for him to get on a plane is about how important it is it is about how important that is. So, yes, a delegation from the UAE will be arriving tomorrow, a 23-man delegation, high-power delegation that will be representing the government of the UAE. They are going into the various areas, into infrastructure, into education, into health. And let's see, they'll be here tomorrow and we'll let the press interact with them after they do their work.
Meanwhile, the Liberian leader also has sideline meetings with his ECOWAS counterparts aimed at strengthening security ties in the sub-region, including other issues. Minister Nangbe again.
Alpha Conde, where they concluded arrangements for they had an agreement that the Guinea iron ore mine in Guinea will be shipped through Liberia. So the modalities now will be worked out by the technicians. I think the IMCC is already, IMCC is the Inter-Ministerial Concession Committee. It is already seized of that. So that's the high point of the trip. Apart from President Macky Sall was also present, the President of the Gambia was present, and other ECOWAS leaders who are going to attend the inaugural ceremony use the opportunity to discuss issues of security in the sub-region. So the President remained in Dakar, attended that meeting, and then yesterday he continued discussion with members of the business community. There are some business people who are deploying their businesses in Dakar, Senegal. There's a laundry list of activities that he had, and we are happy now that we are back home to continue to work in the interest of the people of Liberia.
The interaction with the Malian president refers to the real law.
The Guinean president.
Guinean president. How soon can we see things coming into fruition?
Well, this proposal has been on the table for a while. In fact, like I mentioned to you, the IMCC just a couple of weeks ago had meetings with the particular entity that wants to implement the project. So there are ongoing technical discussions. What happened in Dakar was that the two presidents, for the first time, gave their political blessings to this month.
Confirmation hearing for Associate Justice Designate Yusuf Kaba takes place today at the Liberian Senate. According to a release, the hearing will be conducted by the Senate Statutory Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights Claims and Petition in the old chambers of the Senate beginning at 2 this afternoon. The release is also quoted as saying the hearing will be open to the public. Judge Kaba was recently nominated by President George Manawia to replace former Associate Justice Kabina Janel. The Ministry of Youth and Sports, in partnership with youth groups and UN agencies, Friday announced the launch of the 4 regional consultative meetings with youth of the country on the National Youth Policy Revision and Drafting. Deputy Minister for Youth and Sport Ministry, Isaac Doe, speaking at the launch, said the initiative will involve youth in the 15 counties.
Today, as part of government's commitment to accelerate youth development, the Minister of Youth and Sport, Honorable Dini Zioga Wilson, in partnership with the One United Nations Family and National Youth Groups of Liberia, officially announces the 4 regional consultation meetings with young people from 15 counties in Liberia on the National Youth Policy Revision and Drafting. This is held under the theme, Accelerating Youth Participation Through Policy Formulation. The overall goal of this engagement with young people from the 15 counties is to ensure that a framework is in place for the National Youth Policy to have legal backing, in accordance with the African Youth Charter, to support long-term youth development of young people in Liberia. It also seeks to validate the National Youth Policy document and adopt a national resolution supporting the call from national youth groups and organizations to the government of Liberia to ensure the active involvement of youth decision-making and policy development processes. The significance of this meeting forms the basis of initiating the joint United Nations Program of Support on Youth, upon which the UN and the government of Liberia have agreed to engage young people and youth revised the National Youth Policy, of course, that got expired in 2017, as well as develop an action plan to form a basis upon which the proposed joint United Nations Program of Support on Youth document will be developed.
Some concerned Liberians are calling on the government to beef up security presence at the state-run broadcasting system. They said it is troubling and scary the vulnerability of the national broadcaster to the willful and unrestricted invasion of the entity by angry and undesirable Liberians due to less national security presence at the entity. Their call is in reaction to Saturday's incident when an angry crowd barricaded the main entrance of the Liberia broadcasting system in Pinsville in pursuit of a man believed to be a murder suspect. They accuse the man of being one of those responsible for the death of their colleague in the suburb of Monrovia. According to the report, the man in question is said to have entered the LBS compound to seek rescue while escaping from the angry crowd. Our reporter is quoted as saying most of them were bearing machetes, demanding forceful entry into the LBS compound. Several Liberians Friday took the streets of Monrovia in demand for the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Code for Liberia. According to the petitioners, Liberia's past and current governments have not done much to serve justice for victims of the war. They believe perpetrators of the war continue to serve in high positions in the government. The petitioners want alleged war and economic criminals to face trial for their part in the war.
Continue to raise the efforts and the energies so that the recommendations.
We sincerely apologize. It seems to be that we can lay hands on that. Indeed, if you just joined us, a reminder that you are watching LNTV News Live, televisions of all the news from Liberia and the rest of the world. I'm your uncle Maxwell Johnson, and stories tapping LNTV News Live this morning. Maternal and child deaths to be reduced in Liberia soon as the United Arab Emirates government launches SAFE project in Monrovia. A social justice designate Yusuf Kaba faces confirmation hearing today at the Liberian Senate. Following the aborted invasion of its compound by angry crowds Saturday, some concerned Liberians want additional state security deployed at the Liberia broadcasting system. And up the home front, Sierra Leone's former president, Ernest Bai Koroma, is hoping to recruit soldiers from across Africa to create an African engineering corps. We're now taking a break. We'll come back to bring you more stories. Please keep watching. We'll be right back. Welcome back to LNTV News Live. Now we'll go back to the story. Several Liberian Friday took the streets of Monrovia in demand for the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Code for Liberia. According to the petitioners, Liberia past and current governments have not done much to serve justice for victims of the war. They believe perpetrators of the war continue to serve in high positions in government. The petitioners want alleged war and economic criminals to face trial for their part in the war.
Our quest for justice and accountability to the United Nations, we say, is non-negotiable. We do not negotiate justice. This is the second time we have come, and we come with open hearts. Our hearts are clean. We fight for 250,000 lives. It's a shame on us if we don't. We've explained our stories, and everywhere we go, people have heard us. It's not a fairy tale. The United Nations knows this story better than us, because you guys have been the ones that have helped us get this far. There is no sustainable peace in this country without justice and accountability. So we've come once more to let you know that we are disappointed, that we have not heard anything since our petition was given to you. Our president have communicated us through insinuation that he does not want to meet us. And we have seen the president left to go to Dakar to install another government. He's not back even though he was ready. We are once more disappointed, and we're expressing our grievance saying we have a letter for you. And we want you to please act on, because we know a telephone call to the President of the Republic of Liberia from your office will be answered. The amount of service is not popular, will never be popular, will never get the audience of the President maybe, but you will, because you're all a partner to this government.
Responding to the petitioners, UN coordinator, that's UN resident coordinator Yakub Ehilo, called on them to remain engaged, as the United Nations is regularly engaged with government and stakeholders to address the issue.
That is going to continue to raise the efforts and the energies so that the recommendations of the TRC are implemented. Some of them are very easy to implement, but their impact, their psychological impact is so important that they need to be accelerated, so that the public at large also get a sense that the key stakeholder in Liberia, that is the government of Liberia, is also very serious about this matter. But, and this will be my final point, it is not just the government of Liberia that is responsible for this. You can even argue that this government has just come in and has inherited an enormous responsibility to run a country that is very fragile. So it is important not to expect things to happen overnight, especially on big questions like this. This will require a national conversation. Liberians need to start talking to each other in a structured way as to how this mechanism that we talked about earlier should look like, where it should be run in different parts of the country, what will be its procedures, and so on and so forth, and the fact that it has to conform to minimum international standards, and that it should look credible in the eyes of those who were affected by
The board chairperson of the Public Procurement and Concession Commission, Tipla Rees, has challenged the new PPCC Executive Director to serve with accountability and fairness. Speaking at the turnover ceremony to the new PPCC Executive Director, Councillor Rees urged the employees and staff of the Commission to rally behind their boss for the success of the Commission.
On December 28th, the Board of Commissioners reached a resolution to seek a new ED. We contacted the CSA to help us in this process. And through a vetting process, the CSA arrived and presented to us from the highest school the new executive director will show up to you today. The commissioner have no doubt that Anthony Nambekwa will perform her duty to the best of her ability. We will also be pleased that the performance will adhere to transparency, accountability, so that in our process of work, reviewing concessions.
During the official turnover, the officer in charge, Joseph Swar, presented a PPCC law that defines the roles of the executive director and other commissioners to Madam Ko.
The Commission faces challenges in getting adequate resources to perform its mandate as per the PPC Act of 2005 and amended and restated in 2010. Our budget, for instance, has been shrinking over the past 5 years. Our employees continue to work under difficult circumstances. For example, employees here collect money to fuel the only operational bus to convey them to and fro work daily. There are many other challenges at the Commission, among which is inadequate compensation of our employees as compared to other integrity institutions.
Accepting the post, the new PPCC Executive Director, Attorney Jagbe Nangbe Kowo, called on all Liberians, including concessionaires, to join the fight in upholding the laws and regulations of the Commission.
A fulfilled accomplishment of instilling or wholesome compliance to governing procurement laws and regulations in this country is the feat and the effort of not only the Public Procurement Concession Commission. Procuring entities have responsibilities. Procuring entities need to do responsible procurement. Adhering, and when I say responsible procurement, I'm talking about adhering to the PPCA, considering the visions of their respective entities, achieving value for money, and consequent economic development.
The chairperson of the Liberia Telecommunications Authority, Alvin Brown, is calling on the Press Union of Liberia to collaborate with the LTA in promoting the two industries. Mr. Brown made the comment Friday at the FN Radio Regulation Stakeholder Engagement in Monrovia.
One of the things I want to stress is since we have you powerful media people here, is the collaboration, especially from the PULN with the LTA. We are here, we are spectrum people, so most of the time you don't consider us. Something happens and you consider us. So I think the PUL needs to work along with the LTA to understand what we do at the LTA, how we provide services to the media. That way they will be able to help in that line, because if you don't understand it, we're not to do. And if we come up and say, right now we say we have a moratorium on giving frequency because of this process.
For her part, LTA Commissioner Mariah Harrison said the regulation is aimed at improving quality outputs of FM stations across the country.
The community radio here, and we found out that, okay, now you're out of range. Why you can't find a place somewhere else to go and broadcast so that you're able to serve the other people who and the other person here, and you can join and do programming together so that all the messages will be carried across. Because the thing here is, if you can't give quality to your listeners, then you haven't done anything. If people are tuning in and they're in 3 stations all in one, you haven't done anything. And with time, you will see that that's what will happen. So LTA has a responsibility also to your listeners to make sure that they get quality information.
Meanwhile, Internews Chief of Party Jean MacArthur stressed the importance of FM regulations in Liberia.
We think Internews thinks this is a really, really important time for the evolution of media in Liberia. You've had a period of quick, rapid response from donors, which has flooded the country with support really quickly. That didn't always plan. That wasn't always planned and thought through. And that's the nature of what your country's been through, so it is what it is. But now you have a proliferation of media, radio stations across the country. You all tell me that it's kind of chaotic. Wouldn't it be nice to fix that?
And briefly off the home front now, Sierra Leone's former president Ernest Bar Koroma is hoping to recruit soldiers from across Africa to create an African engineering corps. Some of the most significant infrastructure in America was built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Former President Nkrumah believes a similar peacetime military operation could help to accelerate infrastructure building process in the continent. Security forces in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, have moved in to try to break up thousands of demonstrators calling for President Omar al-Bashir to resign. Tear gas was fired from pickup trucks on the second night of a sit-in. One protester told the BBC that a number of pickup trucks arrived and began firing tear gas and live ammunition at the thousands of sit-in protesters. President Bashir has so far refused demands to step down and make way for a transitional government. She said the military was at first neutral, but then tried to chase the security forces away. Well, on that foreign note, that's how we draw the curtains on this edition of LNTV News Live. Before we go, a quick recap of stories that made headline this morning. Maternal and child deaths to be reduced in Liberia soon as the United Arab Emirates government launches safe project in Monrovia. Associate Justice Destined Yusuf Kaba faces confirmation hearing today at the Liberian Senate. Following the aborted invasion on the compounds by an angry crowd Saturday, some concerned Liberians want additional state security deployed at the Liberia broadcasting system. And up the home front, Sierra Leone's former president Barack Obama is hoping to recruit soldiers from across Africa to create an African engineering corps. Thanks so much for your bureau. Thanks to our editors and reporters for making this edition a success. You better stay. You can join us on our updates at 12, 2, and 4, or join us tonight for our bulletin at 8 p.m. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Maxwell Johnson, bidding you a very good day from Pittsburgh.